everyone. Welcome to the Vegan Stew. We're really happy that you're joining us tonight. And first, let's say thank you to Total Body Lab for sponsoring our live talks this week and this month. And to remind you that on Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on the Virtual Veg Fest YouTube, you can join our talk with Dr. Campbell, which is a conversation that he wants to have with all of you and information he really wants you to know that he hasn't shared anywhere else. So tune in, watch the replay, whatever you want to do. You definitely want to see it. Once again, if you like prizes, go to virtualvegfestlive.com, hit the contest tab, and you can get entered to win a prize pack from TerraSeed, Hodo Foods, VegKey, Cinnaholic, Fabulous, Bernie Wild's Adventure Sauce, Kathy Hester, Trupo Treats, Total Body Lab, and BB Kids. It's really cute. Our topic this week is vegan community. And I think it's going to go a whole bunch of directions. So I can't wait to see what happens there. And then, let's see. Thanks for liking this, Greg. And if you want to join in on the conversation, make sure you put your comments and questions in the little box so we'll make you part of the show. And of course, if you're on YouTube or go to YouTube, subscribe to The Vegan Stew and subscribe to Virtual Veg Fest. So you can follow us and hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. I think I've hit everything that I need to hit. Let's bring in the stew crew. Here we go. We got Marla Rose from Vegan Street.
Hey.
We have Kelly Care. We got Kelly from the Vegan Enabler Climate Healers. We got Ellen Jaffe Jones, the veg coach, vegan real estate extraordinaire in Sarasota, Florida. And we've got Sovereign Marilla Morning, who tends not to be on video, but the voice is there. So let's see. I was thinking this afternoon, because we all have accomplishments and stuff going on, that we should just take a moment and say, hey, what happened over the past week? Like, Marla, it's your birthday.
That is quite an accomplishment. Yeah, I'm 26, which is amazing. Yeah, I lived till January 25th, so I accomplished another birthday. Yeah, it's my birthday.
We should sing.
Yeah.
Happy birthday. And then, Ellen, you closed a deal because you're in real estate.
This is true.
There you go.
Do you want me to talk about it or just leave it at that? It's not.
Well, if you're in Sarasota, Florida, or somewhere in the state of Florida, and you're interested in getting real estate and you want to work with a vegan realtor, you need to contact Ellen. And it's easy to contact her because you just go to her page and you can send a message. And she'll respond to that.
I appreciate that. Actually, EllenJeffJones.com. And I'm number one in sales in our office now.
For the new year. That's fantastic. Yeah, that's great. That's really wonderful.
Thank you.
I have all 8 of our cities set for our festivals. I got approvals for Greenville. So I got a great location for Greenville, South Carolina. We're going to be on Main Street, downtown Greenville, which is going to be amazing. So that's going to open up to vendors hopefully this week. And all the festivals are on Facebook as events. So
when is your first one?
April 23rd in Wilmington, North Carolina.
And then does that sort of commence festival season? Or
for
are
us,
they kind of
we'll go from April through October this year.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So April, May, June, August, and October. That'll be it. Kelly, anything happen with you?
Well, we're making really good progress. So we're working on like a non-violent tabletop role-playing game. So I'm sure everyone knows what Dungeons and Dragons is. And we're putting the steps in motion to create sort of like a non-violent nonprofit to create just non-violent games in general. And we had a name for it that we really, really wanted, and all the websites were taken, and we didn't want to like give up on this name. And then I just checked online on like January like early January, and they must not have renewed their
Oh,
domain. And I was like, oh my God, it's available. So we scooped it up. So we got the name that we wanted. So now I can begin the motions of kind of creating that. Yeah.
is that you and your son?
And yeah, me, my partner, and my son. Yeah. So it's called Play Nice Games.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a quick question? I'm not a D&D person, but it seems like it's been in the news a lot lately. Why is that?
It kind of, it's never gone away. It's number one
but it just
game.
seems
It's
like,
been around since the 70s. Yeah. And it's in the news right now because something's going on. So Wizards of the Coast, who owns Dungeons and Dragons, is owned by Hasbro. And they did something with their policies that affects how, like, because they don't necessarily, so they basically don't think they're making enough money. It's all about money. And so they did something to their policy that kind of hinders like people's ability to what's called homebrew. That's like make your own like campaigns and characters, weapons, all that out of it. So the community is really upset about that, right?
Yeah.
You know, because it's very much driven for profits. So a lot of people are kind of walking away or not supporting it. But Critical Role, which is like it's a group of voice actors in LA, and they play Dungeons and Dragons. They're massive. They got their campaign on Amazon. It just got renewed for a second season, and now their second campaign was just announced that it's going to get their own thing on Amazon. So they're really popular. So they're in the Dungeons and Dragons kind of in the news for both positive and negative reasons.
Awesome.
But yeah, but it's a resurgence, right? And they're trying to like the Wizards of the Coast is trying to create this space where it's more inclusive. And they are kind of talking about, you know, like the LGBT community, the BIPOC community, and we're introducing the vegan community and saying, you know,
amazing.
you want, you know, because kind of the feedback has always been like, we, you know, for people who don't play is because they don't really identify with, they don't feel they can play people who they are and how they identify, and that goes for us as well. So we're going to create a module that allows people to play based on their morals.
Right. That's amazing, and that will dovetail into our conversation later.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Sovereign.
Yeah. So I don't know if any of you guys know, but I'm a musician. I've been in like punk bands and screamo bands and industrial goth bands, which was my last project. But I've actually been in meetings with she's a phenomenal artist. She is a opera singer. She's a mezzo, and she is of Latin descent. And she just released her first. She's an absinthe connoisseur, actually, and we were friends. We met through the Goths for Soapy calendar that I was part of, and we had the first single coming out in March, which is titled V. It's 3 V's, and we're really excited because it's very much like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with like Chelsea Wolfe, very artsy, very type of video. And so the EP is being recorded and will be out hopefully by June. And I picked the date, which is my wedding. So go ahead and release it. But it's my outing again as a solo artist, and I'm just glad to go back into something that is healing. But I'm really excited. So that's what I've been working on behind the scenes with that, and so far, like in promo and things like that, and the artist here features a lot of other artists who are within the community but of color and queer, and I'm really excited to bring them to a platform and get them seen more because they're so talented. And it is picking back up steam again, unfortunately, about the goth being only white only, and I just decided to go ahead and say, hey, here's my Vice article. There you go. So I've been doing some advocacy on the side. So that was my week.
I mean, it's funny for a community that's so into the color black, right? It's like,
It's like seriously, it's mind-boggling. And there is a creator that went ahead and did an audio, like he kind of had it, and he did the audio, and immediately I was just like, this is perfect. And I went ahead and did just with a few pictures and that Vice article, which I spoke about the racism that is happening within the scene, especially since Trump came. I mean, it's been bad. And some people who are big influencers who like to hide, you want to speak it because it'll look good and it's trendy, but then you still associate yourself with
Right.
people who may have large followings within the scene because it makes you look So I'm like, I'm going to call you out on it. And I didn't expect for it to pick up so much steam on TikTok. But it's been great to see people of color come out and say, I've been that way and I'm going back to it. I'm like, no one, whether you like it or not, we're here. No one holds the key, so
Yeah,
it's inclusive
exactly.
and,
Exactly.
this is what it means to do. So yeah, I mean, it baffles me, but we're here. We're not going anywhere. We blend into like shadow. If I open my mouth and smile, I'm shadow. So you can't get any more goth than that. And I just think it's
Right.
ridiculous for people to have to be a certain skin tone to
Right.
belong. So I've been
And we
working
know
really
it's so
diligently.
important to you, Sovereign, to blend in, right?
Of course.
Well, that's a good way for us to segue into. I guess we'll bring everything all together into our topic, because we can talk about eggs, we can talk about all this stuff, because our topic tonight is vegan community and finding community within the larger vegan community, which maybe you want to, maybe you don't. I guess it depends on where you live and who you're friends with and who you know and who you don't know. But there was something that happened tonight that I definitely want to talk about, and I guess we'll start there because we'll just dive right into social media, because don't be a dick on social media, but it seems like people were tonight. I follow the Gentle Chef. Marla does too. I think, yes, Kelly does as well. And the Gentle Chef posted a recipe this afternoon for vegan bagels.
Mhm.
I looked at the recipe, I opened it up, I skimmed through it. I need to go jump to the recipe because there's so much crap in there. Jump to the recipe, looked at it, and then put it into my recipe group. And then told Stephen about it when we were in the car. I was like, there was a recipe for bagels that I saw that looks really good. I figured out how to make the bagels, because last time we kind of looped them, and then I was like, that was wrong. This is how you do it. And then I see Marla's post, and it's the forward of the Gentle Chef's post saying that he took down that recipe because the comments got out of control. Now, it was a vegan recipe. It was reasonable. It was relatively easy. I would use a bread maker, so I don't even have to do anything with the dough. He said how to make it like whole wheat or whole grain.
Mhm.
It had 2 tablespoons of oil for the whole recipe. It's bread. I don't know what happened because I didn't see the blow up, but it blew up enough for him to take the recipe down.
Yeah.
And I was not happy about that because I want to make the recipes. I wrote to him and I said, hey, can you send me the recipe? I want to make this recipe. To which he immediately sent it back and said, here you go. To which I replied, you should never have to take somebody down from your page because of people hating. That should never force you to take down it's his recipe page. It's his page. And he felt so much hate, I guess, in that moment that he had to take a bagel recipe down. And I said, as long as you can put your head down at night and you can sleep and you live your life every day in a way that you feel good, fuck the rest of them.
Yeah.
It's just no. So how messed up of a community are we in, or we associate with? I guess associate with by whatever means, that they could take a vegan chef and make him feel so badly that he takes down his recipe. Yes. So let's see what Melissa said. Let's see. I've been seeing these negative comments about the post from Gentle Chef. It's really a shame. Are they trolls? Because I don't necessarily read comments, trolls in there and he just has to like block them? Are these actual vegan people who are, and Melissa, if you saw the comments, because Marla, you didn't see the comments either, right? Of why
I
you
did
just
not.
saw his post
I did
of,
not. I kind of interpreted from what he wrote that. So as someone, I'm not at all trying to say I'm on his level. Sky is a culinary genius. I'm simply putting together recipes that seem easy for the regular person. But as someone who does do that, like post recipes, it is often just such a thankless, like, I understand why he took it down, even though the rebellious part of you is like, fuck you, screw you, my recipe, it's because you're dealing with so much vitriol and so much unfairness. Like, so it could be people who are pissed that there's oil in the recipe, the whole food plant-based people. They could be screaming and I've certainly had that, even though my recipes top out at maybe a tablespoon of olive oil, if that. Or it could be people who are mad that oil is not traditionally in bagels. And that's kind of how I took it. But the point is, keep scrolling. There's lots of recipes everywhere, but it gets so tiresome. And to me, what is the biggest loss could be someone like Sky, who's so talented and so generous of his time and his talents, just saying, you know what, screw you all, I'm done with it, because it's too much of a hassle. And I've seen people leave this community, not necessarily for that reason, but for constantly being untacked, for constantly having the worst assumed about you. It's a terrible way. I'm sorry, Michelle, I do sometimes swear. I'll take that out.
I swear too. Please. I don't know if that was curse words. Michelle doesn't like curse words, I guess. I'm sorry.
Yeah, times.
But
my point is just that is a loss to us all when people cannot be fair and rational. It's like before the internet, did we think that everything
people wrote letters before the internet? They literally
Right.
wrote letters to the press or whomever, and then they may or may not gotten printed.
Right. Where did we get this idea that everything has to, apply to us and everything has to be approved by us? And it makes no sense. I don't like tomatoes. Do I lose my mind if somebody posts a recipe with tomatoes? Like, why would that be my business? But veganism is my business. So anyway.
No, I apologize. You're hearing things. I'm clicking for the kids. Speaking of, so are we gatekeeping bagels now? I'm really sick and tired of people. Like, there are some more crucial and more important things to gatekeep where it's justified. But if you're going to gatekeep a bread recipe, it's like everybody wants to sit behind their keyboards and say it, but they won't say it to your face. Or if you think you do a better job of it, just shut up.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Nobody don't put the oil in. If the oil was the issue, don't put the oil in. You don't have to
figure it out yourself.
Just replace it with a little liquid because you lose a little liquid.
I mean, you're kind of screwed. You're kind of screwed.
There's so many restaurants that serve. There's so many restaurants that serve, at least where I live, avocado bagels, and they pour oil on top of it, and that's not on the menu. Are people picketing out in front and throwing tomatoes at the window? They just don't go there if they don't like it.
Or just say,
I'm throwing avocados at the window, not tomatoes.
No tomatoes. I'll get really pissed. But yeah, it's just like, where do we get this? And when
entitlement is the word.
When it
you're looking at the word as entitlement.
That's when people leave, and they're like, he puts a lot of effort into creating these things. He's made so much free stuff for the community. And the thing is that you're screwed either way, because if your recipe doesn't taste like what people expect, like omnivores expect or whatever, then you get slammed for that. So it's kind of like, you may as well create the best recipe you can. And yeah.
And recipes, remember, are a guide. They are not the rule. They are a guide for you to create the food that you choose to eat. So if you don't like a spice, change the spice. If you don't like oil, figure out how to do it without oil. If you don't like using refined flour, don't use it, but
It's on
figure
you.
out the best way to make it work. So maybe you have a flop the first time, maybe the second time you won't. Maybe you get lucky. It doesn't really matter. But the fact of the matter is, I've said the words, I'm done. Fuck you
Yeah.
all. You do it.
You swore.
I've said those. I don't care. I've said those words many times over the last 9 years because the hate and vitriol that comes at me, for whatever reasons it is, it's like you couldn't do it. You couldn't do what we do,
Right.
and I know that because some of you
And you
have
have a
tried.
tough skin. You have a tough skin.
I have
you
a tough
know?
skin, and I still like every year find myself in tears.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's a big deal when someone like me is saying like it's enough, like you are too much, you are taking too much of my energy.
Mhm.
I mean, but it's really important because we're starting this on a very negative note. I feel badly for the gentle chef for Sky. I believe that maybe he needs someone to go in there and get rid of his trolls. But and Melissa said many were from anti-vegans, but there was a lot of criticism from vegans as well. It's a bagel. It wasn't even like tempeh or tofu or like some weird seitan, like something that's not familiar to people who are like anti-vegan. It was a
But
baked
can I say
vegan if you
something?
have egg in them.
Like what? Like the flax and aquafaba. But can I say something? I had like the idea of blocking trolls. Like, we had, it just so happens today on Vegan Street, a post that drew a bunch. Like, you can always tell when it's like a page or a group sending a bunch of people over because they're all coming over at the same time. Like, suddenly, even though I posted this yesterday, 2 hours ago, all these people. But the point is that I had to spend an hour on my birthday blocking people, and then the other thing is that if somebody posts really hateful stuff like violence against animals and stuff like that, if you delete it, then you can't report it. So I want to report them for posting violence. But so then I get yelled at by Vegan Street followers who are like, why are you letting the trolls take it? It's like, because I don't have all day to babysit a post,
Right. You need admins to be in there with you to support it because you can't do that by yourself. Not with 100,000 plus people. It's impossible. It's impossible to follow, and you just can't.
There's
Go
a.
ahead, stop it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
People fail to realize, and I feel really bad. I'm not too familiar with this particular chef, but it's really sad because it just permeates everywhere. There have been people who have committed suicide. There have been people like with TikTok live videos that people just say the worst comments where people are literally like, do you need a mod? Like people are like, do you need a mod? Do you need a mod? We will mod. Do you need someone to block people? Because it's unbelievable how cruel people can be behind a keyboard, behind their phone with their fingers. And they don't realize the damage that that causes and what it does to people psychologically, regardless of how strong they may be. And some of them, like if you post on or people post things on Facebook and, it will be hurtful, but, I take the stance like, oh, you ate that. You really thought you ate that, didn't you? Okay, that's cute, and because sometimes it's just like, do I want to go to your level or do I just want to be like, you really tried me, but it's not. And then others, it's just like, do I get off or do I delete? Do I screenshot? Because it can be bad, So, I mean, it's really bad. Just like you said, people used to write letters, pass them along, do an airplane, freaking things like that. And it's just gotten worse. Technology is a good thing and a bad thing. I hope that they find their strength, and they shouldn't have been like bullied that way. It's ridiculous. It really is. I don't know. People need to get a life. Stop being Karens and Kevins.
It's true. I mean, on the flip side, most of the time, I see such good coming from people in our community, from the businesses, from people, kind words, willingness to help. You know, and no good deed ever goes unpunished, no matter what you do, no matter what. However, I mean, I think we could harp on the negative more than the positive because those stand out more than the positive things stand out. But it's lovely to see people come together to help feed the homeless, to help save animals, to especially like here in North Carolina when we had the storms come through, the hurricanes come through, and flooding in eastern North Carolina, and the pigs were literally running around and swimming to safety. And a whole group of people went to save those pigs and were able to, hopefully, some of them able to save. I mean, they were in boats, you know, because it was so flooded. But, you know, some of the farmers found their pigs and kept their pigs, you know, but
maybe we've talked about this before, but you know, when I did media consulting, we talked about the 10 C's that will guarantee that your 10-second soundbite will get on the evening news. And it's things like conflict, catastrophe, celebrityness, crisis. And it's always what the news directors told me throughout my career when I tried to do a positive story called Person of the Week. Ellen, good news doesn't sell. It's only the negative news. And people want to know before they go to sleep that their community is safe. And, you know, looking at YouTube videos now, it's like, they even have color coding. If you want to instill fear, you write your letters in red. If you want to convey energy, you write them in yellow. And there is such fear mongering. Oh my gosh. It just on all subjects. And it's just, they get views. I mean, they get thousands and thousands of views. And, you know, as a content creator, I struggle with, I refuse to play that game. And yet, you know, I realize that the good news is just not going to sell. But we come into these situations just not knowing what we're going to do. And I think one of the early things I saw when I hopped on Facebook, when was that, 20 years ago or whenever, was you don't have to attend every fight you're invited to. And, you know, I with all my social media, I've gotten such hate over the years. It's just like, you know, it just depends how much you want to engage with it or just move on. Move on.
Right. And there are like, honestly, there are these beautiful little pockets of community. I just think that they have to be nurtured and cultivated and intentionally create. Like, I think Kelly, you're in Humane Halloween, right? Maybe not. Okay. So anyway, it's a Facebook group of vegan Halloween enthusiasts.
I'm in there.
Yeah, that wouldn't be me. That would definitely be Sovereign.
Right.
I'm not the Halloween person.
I created
365.
Yeah, it's fun. We set some really strict, like there's not going to be anyone trashing anyone here. It's like there's this other thing that I created like a month ago for people to do January yoga together, the Yoga with Adrienne program. So, I mean, it is very possible. It's just like you're not going to, when it gets too large, there's going to be a lot of ugliness, you know?
I think what's so disheartening about it, you know, from these vegans, and I'm going to put vegans in quotes, you know, is that like at the end of the day, the animals are what's suffering.
Yeah.
Right. You know, we're our own worst enemy in the community. And I really hope that what's happening to Sky was not from, like, I hope that, you know, the vegans that were doing it are very minimal, right? And hopefully it was more from non-vegan trolls, because yeah, that's just so disheartening. Because you know, like how are we creating an environment where people will be like, I totally want to go into that community,
right?
Are fighting over like these most ridiculous things, like we're just turning people off.
Right.
You know? So
I will say, like, just from a personal perspective, that, you know, meat eaters, bacon hipster, whatever's control me all day, every day, and they make no contact. You know, it's just like just empty fists in the air. But when vegans troll and when vegans condemn and when vegans rip you apart, that is just, it's soul crushing. Even if it's totally unfair and you could totally understand rationally that this is undeserved or whatever, it really knocks the wind out of you, because it's like coming from within. And that just makes it much harder. And that's kind of I think that's what really exhausts vegans and depletes vegans when it comes to trolling, is when it comes from other vegans. The other people, like, you expect that and it just doesn't land. They throw a lot of punches but nothing lands. But with vegans, it just hurts. It hurts a lot.
It does. And we use, I'll use a collective we use the same strategies as like Trumpists, as the MAGA. We use the same strategies as Republicans, as Democrats, as whatever you want to say, whatever that group is. It's this. We had a vendor called Stop Having Kids Now in Asheville, and I brought this up previously. And I don't know if you know, but our festivals are in the South, and it did not go over well. It was just a post about them being a vendor. Mm-hmm. And I will go to bat for our vendors. And I did. And it was exhausting because it was multiple pages, multiple Instagrams actually. And they were like, I love my children. And people unfollowed, people said, I'm not coming now. People like really were, I was like, this is a vendor. Right? If you don't like mushrooms, because you use tomatoes, I use mushrooms. You don't like mushrooms, you're not going to patronize the mushroom vendor at the festival. But are you going to say horrible things about them? And the arguments they were using, I was like, you do realize that every argument that you're using against us is the same arguments that non-vegans use against vegans. You're using them. And you don't like it when it's done to you. You hate that.
It's the same.
Why? But they don't have the connection, I believe, to intelligence. I'll go there to understand that connection. Understand that they're just using an argument that they hate using against another fellow vegan who, you're not going to like all our vendors. That's okay, because it's one of somewhere between 50 and 100 plus. There's 49 others and if you walk by, maybe having discourse with them like we do weekly will help you understand where they're coming from, as opposed to completely saying, I hate you because of what you stand for, yet I don't really understand that because I'm not going to look any deeper than the surface. It's like reading the headline and not clicking the link to the article.
Right.
And judging everything
about it. Right.
And there's something that I haven't brought up on here that happened to me within my own vegan community here in the Triangle. And when I posted about it on my personal page, I got hate from people who are friends with me on my personal page. A local food. Oh yeah, it was awful. A local food truck took my picture, put a red circle with a line through it.
Oh my God.
And wrote, "Fuck this bitch" on the picture.
Why?
And posted that in their food truck. And threatened and joked about posting it on their social media.
I'm sorry, what?
What'd you do? Put oil on the...
I've never met them. And in fact, I only had the food once and it was horrible. And I ended up getting all our money back because it was that bad. And I don't like to do that because we're obviously big supporters of vegan food within our community and outside our community. But how did I learn this? Right? How does this happen? How do you learn? Obviously, there's probably tons of times of people that have done this, all of us out there that we don't know about. But the person who was working for them, who was no longer working for them, reached out to me to find out if all the hate that was put my way, all the negative words about me were true. And you
Wow.
know, I spent like hours on the phone with that person. And at the end of that conversation, they were like, one, you're helping me and counseling me about the situation that I went through with this person because it was obviously kind of abusive.
Yeah.
But she was, they were like, you're not who what they said you are. I said,
Mhm.
for some people, I am. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm perfect, but do I deserve to have my face printed out with a
No,
red circle
especially
with a
not in
line through
this
it?
big country with all the guns. No,
And that's a
absolutely.
vegan food truck, a
Mhm.
vegan business within my
Mhm.
North Carolina community. And when I
Right.
posted about it, people were like, you need to be the bigger, better person.
No, you get to
I was
decide.
like,
You're the
bigger,
victim, and
better
then you get to decide.
person,
Yeah.
you're going to still go buy food from them?
Mhm.
That's what I was like, kind of like, what is wrong with
Right.
you? And Nancy,
Mhm.
by the way, Nancy is in Baltimore, right,
Fabulous.
Nancy? And you
Mhm.
have your own new vegan food business. You have your own new restaurant and like one of those like food hall things. So you can write about that. We'll post it. Same do unto others applies to vegans who post generalized insulting comments about those not vegan, as if calling someone selfish or ignorant will inspire them to go vegan. Yeah, it's
I've had my moments. Yeah, I know it's not effective.
right. And we've all been that trolley person. I've definitely been that towards Trumpsters more so than towards vegan people or
Oh, they
non-vegan
deserve
people.
it.
But you know, I've been sitting with this for years, and in private circles, which is no longer private circle, I have shared who it is, what they've done, and I mean the reactions are the same as like, why? I said he's never met me. At
Right,
least if you met me and then you learned that you said I hate her, okay, then I gave you maybe some reason. You've never met me,
right.
and I'm like, so that's what we deal with.
Yeah,
You know, in this
really messed
vegan
up.
community that we want to say positive things about. But I have absolutely wonderful, wonderful, amazing friends that are vegan and are part of my community and here locally and out of state. And I love them and I'm very fortunate and happy to have them. They're good people. And that's why they're in my life because they're good people. Because you could be a shit and be vegan.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you
There's
for sharing.
Nancy's.
Nancy.
Oh,
That's
the
awesome.
Wild Heart Bistro will be in Baltimore.
Yay.
There you go. You're welcome, Nancy.
Super cute. One of the things I would say is, you know, I think community. It just sounds so. It sounds so trite to say, but community is incredibly important. You know, just anthropologically, we're oriented toward feeling a sense of belonging, and that's bless
That's
you,
right.
Ellen.
It's
That's
the
part
truth.
of what makes going vegan easier is if you have you know, people around you who support you. Hi, Stephen, and who you trust and who trust you. I think that trying to find it in large social media groups is probably a recipe for disaster. I often recommend people start small because I find they can be very nurturing and supportive and wonderful. You know, like I know Facebook gets slammed, rightfully so, a lot, but if you create um, a nice, tight knit group with strong boundaries around abuse and intolerance around abuse, um, you can find a great niche, you know, like a great community of people. But I think just expecting other vegans to be nice is definitely very last century. You know,
Well, I often say, the larger we get, we're just going to
yeah,
attract all
the
kinds of
big tent. Yeah.
personalities. So that's kind of the risk we play. I have a vegan runners group, and I'm the only admin. I've thought about expanding it, but it's narrow enough and not. I mean, it's active, but it's very specific. And I always encourage people. This is a positive place. You got bragging rights here. We all want to hear your accomplishments,
Yeah.
and it's pretty amazing stuff that people are
Mhm.
sharing. And all very positive. So, I want
Yeah.
it to be a resource and not, there's some vegan athlete types of pages. They want to sell you protein powder and want you to be an ambassador for them. I don't do any of that
Right.
stuff. It's just a place to come as you are kind of thing.
Yeah. And then sometimes they show up just to try to bring people over to their stuff, So like a lot of times, like in Humane Halloween, for example, we have a once a week where, share any links, brag, whatever you want, we try to keep it focused on Halloween and horror and that stuff the rest of the time, but I think that is part of, like, a community doesn't just develop and self-sustain. Like, you kind of have to have some nurturing and mindfulness around it. You know what I mean? Because that's how it's going to be healthy and thrive. We used to have it so that vegan Humane Halloween, was a public group. And maybe 2 years ago, we decided to make a private group because people who were Halloween enthusiasts were coming there, but had no connection to veganism. So it just was losing its focus. So it's like, I'd rather the group be small and have people intentionally there than just this massive thing, And I think that's
on a
part
daily
of
basis. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I think that's part of the whole community thing is that it does take some muscularity, like it does take some intentionality behind it.
On a daily basis, I get requests from new members, and it's like, I got to set aside more than a few minutes just to look at it. Okay, how long have you been on Facebook? Do we have any mutuals? What city are you from? Is it even on the map? I mean, some of these things are pretty hilarious. And I have a thing where they are supposed to fill out a form, why do you want to join this page? And nobody ever does. And I've kind of given up doing that, requiring that. But it is just kind of challenging trying to figure out, should I let this person in or not? I mean, generally I do. And if I have it enabled, so if somebody tries to sell something, they get reported. And then, I immediately respond to that. But yeah, you just want safe places for sure.
Right.
Everybody does the best thing. It doesn't always work.
Mm-hmm.
What's great about community as well, there's enough vegans, if you're looking to be primarily in a vegan community, is that you can try out different communities and see what works for you. Like, I stayed up till 4:00 in the morning today, lamenting over photos. I went through all my photos on Facebook, and I'm not on Facebook anymore, but I was looking at one photo and I just kept going back and back and looking at the almost 9 years that I've been vegan, because I jumped into the community immediately, and I'm so grateful for the community that was that community at that time, because it really cemented, not to say that I wouldn't have been vegan if I didn't have that community, but that community was so important because it got me into activism almost immediately after I went vegan. And that really cemented like my veganism, doing that. And I miss that activism so much. And I'm looking at people that I don't even know are vegan anymore. I don't see them. I see people who I miss greatly. And then I see people like that I've had, who that COVID has exposed to be someone who I did not even know who they were. And just seeing this sort of like these changes, like just sort of this fluidity in this community that I've been part of for 9 years. And I anticipate that I'll be part of different communities. Either I'm creating communities and, or I find them, right? So I think like that's a good thing when you're part of a community that, you think you're completely in alignment with, and then you're like, oh no, I don't want to be a community if that. And you just seek out the one that does align with you until it doesn't work anymore.
So Susan said, hi, Susan. Until I met Helene and got involved with her Veg Fest, I don't have any community, definitely no family support. So I'm used to doing things on my own, not just a complaint, a fact. Then So I'm going to say, put this out there because it was a great response. We're here, Susan. So many of us got called black sheep, cult members. Well, it was tough. Never was a reason to back down. And sadly, most of them died long, painful deaths. Is that from Ellen? That sounds like an Ellen response. There we go.
I did not write that.
I wasn't
Sorry,
sure
my
until
name
I
is
saw the
changing
last
to all
line.
of that. Sorry.
It's a great response. So yes, I mean, so here's a question. We're talking about vegan community. Does the community have to be vegan? Because I know over COVID, my world became more vegan. You know, being
Right.
home, social media. A lot of people from, you know, when I was 19, they went away because different values, different beliefs. Not, it had nothing to do with veganism for the most part. It had to do with politics and how we live our lives. So, and it doesn't mean that all my friends are vegan, but
Helene.
my world is definitely morphed into a more, those are the people that I hang out with. And I was a big proponent of you should have people in your life that are, you know, run the gamut on things, because it's not a bad thing to expose yourself to things other than what you only know and what you only believe, because then you can really become ignorant if you do that.
Right. That's what
However,
family is for.
that's what I guess what the news is
chosen
for. It's, I mean, I have to think really hard about like who I'm close with and who's not vegan now.
So I have some friends who are other moms who I met when I was pregnant with my son 20 years ago. And it's just a small, tight-knit group of us locally. There are like 10 or 15 of us who are progressive politically. That's kind of back when I was expecting my son. Most of them were either expecting or had children. And we were kind of all unified just in the sense that we were all progressive. About half of them now are vegan, which is really cool. And I've never been pushy about it with them. Hard to believe, I know. But one of the things that happens is when you're vegan, it can be hard to relate and hard to, you know, be peaceful in certain environments, you know, when somebody's eating meat around you, for example. And that's understandable. It's not necessarily a product of you isolating yourself from non-vegans as much as it's just like a practical reality that's painful to see, you know. And then sometimes it can feel like other vegans are the only ones who can understand that, you know, what this means to you. This is not just, oh, you have compassion for animals. This is a very it is a worldview, you know. So it's understandable if being in community with vegans feels more safe and understandable, you know, you know. But I do hear what you're saying.
It feels more comfortable, but at the same time, I just shared a story where my
Oh.
face was on it.
Yeah.
So it's.
But you have to be selective. I think the idea of putting yourself out there like, hey, vegan world, I'm Marla. I want to be your friend. That's just not going to work well. But if you like, you wouldn't approach any large groups of people like that. You know what I mean? Like, so it seems to me you find shared interests under the larger umbrella if you're, you know, of being vegan. So like Halloween enthusiasts, or people who are into yoga, or people who are into running, or people who are into D&D, people who are event planners, you know. Even then, even when you start, you know, narrowing it, there are going to be people you don't like who are not part of your, and that's life, you know.
You don't have to like
So
everybody.
this past weekend, we had somebody organized locally a walk, a bird watching tour in this local park, and it was all vegans. And like everybody there except me said, I will not associate with people who are not vegan. You know, if one thing we learned from the pandemic is that life is short, and
Mhm.
so you want to be in places with your tribe, and your
Right.
vibe attracts your tribe. So, and I was just talking about,
Mhm.
like, I had that morning run a 10K. I decided to switch from the 5K, got this little first place award, veteran grandmasters, 267th time. But every time I do a 5K, I'm in the sea of people who are not vegan, and when I stand up there on the awards podium with my vegan shirt on, I am silently saying, we get enough protein, we get enough energy,
Right,
and
right,
all
right.
this stuff. And people just, that I was walking with, they're saying, we could never do that. And it's like, maybe it's just sort of this rebellious nature that I have, or this passion and mission that we don't have a lot of time to get this right.
Yeah.
And we better be out there playing in the mainstream, the vegan mainstream, to carry this message in a way that resonates with people wherever they are. And
Mhm.
I
See,
just
that's
found
why
it
I like to
interesting.
write. I like to write because I don't like interacting with people. Like I think you probably are a classic extrovert. I mean, everyone needs time by themselves too, but I think you're more extroverted than your average bear, probably. Just the fact
Well,
that you
maybe I kind of view it as I'm just angry. I'm angry. I'm so angry that my whole
right.
family is dead because of bad information, inaccurate information, and they just didn't know. And maybe I'm just acting out this third daughter, angry,
No,
rebellious child.
I think you're a
You know what?
phenomenal.
It's like I got 3 daughters too, and I want their world to be, just a little bit better than
Yeah,
what we
yeah.
grew up with.
I mean, that's what we're not. The group here, we're not socially isolating to the extent of living in little ivory towers. We're all engaging in the world in various capacities. Like I think even just simply wearing a shirt with a vegan message while you're at the grocery store, that's helpful. Just like all the different little passive things you can do to get the word out,
Right.
they're all helpful. But the the to your point, Helene, about only interacting with other vegans and stuff, I have friends that I've been, friends are very important to me. Like people I've been friends with since I was a child, since I was 5
Yep.
or younger. They're grandfathered in. I'm not going to isolate them because they're not vegan, but it's important to our souls to have people who have history with us too.
Right.
You don't have to include everyone in that, but
Yeah, it's not
nor
saying that I don't have people. I have friends that aren't vegan. I most certainly do. Most of them are from, like you said, when I was 19. So I would never, ever, ever. I love them. They've
yeah,
given no reason to not be friends with them. I mean, we align,
right.
and I would, mean the world to me. So it's just interesting how it's just kind of changed since COVID. And we spent more time in the house. Yeah.
I think
I
that's for
mean,
everyone, right? Yeah.
and we still spend time in the house. we still don't go out when we're home. We like at
Yeah.
this point we do errands and we go to the gym, and that's it. Because
I would be very happy just to continue being it's
I it
yeah,
was a good
yeah.
time for us introverts. COVID was not a bad thing. It was a
Not a
great
bad thing
thing.
at all. Kelly's like, yes. But what was funny with the timing was my husband's quarantine ended for his illness right when COVID picked up. And I was like, I could keep going with this quarantine forever. Like I would be perfectly happy, like just seeing the people who are near and dear to me once in a while and not interacting. I'd be happy.
And that's a different way to have community. You don't always have to be in person. One of the best things about social media that's come out of this is the fact that you can keep in touch with people anywhere they are in the world. And you can see their children growing up. You can send a message, you can celebrate their birthdays. You can do all of that on social media and with just a little click of your keypad of your keyboard, you can be like, hey, how are you? Or you can just comment. You can just do a stupid heart,
Stay
whatever
in
it
that.
is.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. I mean, I
I
think
mean, I
that's
know a lot about a lot of people without ever like I can see them in person 4 months from now and I can ask them about like stuff that's happening with them because I saw what was going on. I just didn't interact.
Mhm.
You know?
Well, and I think that
Okay.
that's important for friendships, right? Is to not drop out of people's lives entirely and then show up and be, you know, like 9 months later and be like, hey, want to hang out? Like, it is important to occasionally send a little text, just thinking about you, or I thought you'd think this was funny or whatever, just occasionally, you know. You don't have to do it every day, but you know. And
You know, the best advice that we can give to anybody who's watching, who watches this, shares this, whatever you do, is when you think about something, reach out.
yeah,
Because
I do that
if you
all
think
the
about
time.
someone, reach out. If you have something nice to say to
You do.
somebody, tell them. If you love somebody, share that you love them. Do those little things because you might not get the chance
Mhm.
if you
And
wait too
so
long,
they mean so much
because that's
to.
life.
Mhm.
You know, and you never know when the receiving person, whether that's a stranger or someone you love or someone you know or acquaintance, whatever it is, business associate, when you say something nice to them, whether it's, you know, you look great today, what a great outfit, your hair, what'd you do, whatever it is, you've got a great smile. I love complimenting people on their eyes, because especially blue eyes, because like all my siblings have blue eyes and I have brown eyes. So I have this thing, like they're absolutely beautiful people, beautiful eyes. I tell them because you never know where they're at on their end.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
we live in a society where suicide is high and depression is high. One
Isolation.
little comment can turn somebody's day from horrible suicidal to I matter.
Right.
And it's just because you took a second.
Yeah.
Because you
And
cared
that
enough about
matters.
another human being.
It matters
Go
so
ahead, Laura.
much because I think disconnection is at the heart of everything that we're trying to counter, right? Is this feeling of disconnectedness. And so it's not just your friends that you're maintaining relationships with, but just saying kind words to your cashier, making a little joke with someone in line with you, just like whatever it takes, just to brighten someone's day a little. It's so
Yep.
important, you know.
There's a really
I have
great,
the perfect.
wish I knew the page that I followed, but there's a because I always just sort of see them in my reels, but there's, I don't know who they are, but they drive, and or even what city they do it, or maybe they do it in multiple cities in the States, but they drive around in cars and they just look for people and they'll like yell out a compliment, but like very specific to, you know, what they like, you know, if someone's wearing a particular outfit, like they make it, they curate
Right,
it very
right,
specific to the people. And the reactions from the people are usually so shocked that someone said something nice about them. They don't know how to behave.
right.
But then when they realize that they're saying it with complete sincerity, and these people are, like you said, like, you know, you can see so clearly how it made them feel. It's so heartwarming because you know that they're going to go through that rest of the day and it's going to just play in their head, and you know yeah, it's like you said, it's just a little thing, right? I know there's the
Little things.
yeah,
There was
there's a the
Well, remember
kind
those.
website that you can sign up for, and it's, you know, it's great.
there's another Facebook post I saw sometime in the last week or two where they did this thing where they made people write out a letter to somebody that they wanted to give a big compliment or say some nice things to, and they made them call them up and read it. And they
Ooh.
measured their level of happiness. I don't know how they did that, but the people who were giving the compliment actually felt
That
better
is
than
so
before they
important.
started doing it.
That
So
is
there's
such
more
an
joy in giving than there is receiving, I guess, is the moral.
right, but that, I think that's the point, is it is a mutuality, you know. It's just like, I know, like one of the little things that I noticed when we were caring for my mom and she was disabled toward the end of her life and living with us, is how much of a difference it made in my life while you know, I was kind of sandwich generation. I had a young child and you know, a senior parent at the grocery store, stressed out. Nobody else could, you know, they're both going in two different directions. just somebody looking at me with a little bit of a smile and a little patience rather than, oh God, your child just cut in front of, like, whatever it is, like, or just holding a door open, just little tiny, like, and I think that sometimes we build these things out that they have to be such grand gestures, but it really is these small little things that make such a huge difference. And when people are stressed out, and overwhelmed and feeling like they see no way out, that can be a veritable lifeline when somebody sees you and
Yeah.
extends compassion, you know.
Please, thank you. I appreciate that. Common courtesy, things that I was taught growing up. You're
And
putting
it's
a
so
napkin in your
amazing
lap.
how many people don't do that. I'm just saying.
It's so simple, and it doesn't take anything really out of your day to do any of
Yeah.
those things. And you know what? If you want to build community, we're talking about vegan community. That is truly a way to build community in your community, vegan or not. And there's Susan, and courtesy and kindness more important than ever. 100%. 100%. So I'm wearing a shirt today that says "Be kind, especially to animals." And if you recognize that, that would be herbivore. And there's a couple of sad things that have happened over the last couple of weeks. One of them is that Herbivore is closing. And if you didn't get in to buy stuff from Herbivore, they are closed because I think today was the last day to order. I did order. So I have a whole bunch of their stickers. I'm going to sell at VegFest. That was my dog. And the other one is, if you've been to New York City, if you've been to Brooklyn, Champ's Diner is closing.
I saw that.
Which is sad too. There's another place in Brooklyn as well that does crepes that are absolutely amazing. They're closing too. So
we're having
but
too. Yeah.
But they're, as much as these are closing, and these are long-term places, 20 years, 14 years, 12 years. There's new ones
One of the
popping
things
up, man.
I've seen about that is that with the end of some of these loans during COVID, they now have to pay these back, and that may be what's going on with some of the businesses.
Part of what's also going on
to pay them.
is people are just tired.
Yes.
That was the essence I got from Michelle of Herbivore's post, is just like, we've been pivoting, we've been redirect, it's hard to try to undercut Amazon. It's hard to try to make a case for why people should spend a little bit more at your conscientious boutique. It's like the Prime Minister of New Zealand quit, and there's no shame in that. It's like people get tired. And I actually wrote a letter to Michelle just thanking her for all of the years and that they've been building vegan culture and community. But it becomes exhausting, and that's kind of bringing us back to what we started with the Gentle Chef. It's just like, we need to be creating a soft place to land for one another and for the vegan businesses and that sort of thing, not contributing to stress and hardship, so.
Yep, because it is. It's hard. It is definitely hard, and it doesn't necessarily get easier. And at some point, all these things that we love, they'll transition, because everything has to end, and then new things are growing and building and starting, and that's a good thing,
Right?
Because it's not ending. It's just new. It's just transitioning, and that's.
I didn't know that about
that's
Herbivore.
life.
My publisher used to sell their clothing, I guess, a few years after my books were published. And he said, people will read messages on shirts more than they will books. And it wasn't long after that they stopped publishing cookbooks. Because again, things are changing and everything's online. And so.
Even online, things have to be short,
I'm sorry?
Even online, long
Right.
form reading is dead.
Right.
Yeah.
TikTok,
Yeah.
60 seconds shorts. Yeah, absolutely. And so, the challenge always is, how do you stay relevant and say it all in 60 seconds or less? And that's kind of where our culture is going.
Yeah,
Right.
that is true. So how do we end this on a positive note? So love one another, care for one another, be kind. And that's
Be on
to
YouTube.
animals and humans in
Right.
in social media and everywhere in your lives. Even when you're not having a good day, be kind. And Nancy says, Prime Minister of New Zealand had many death threats. I think it was related to her health mandates for COVID prevention, such as mass vaccinations.
Mm.
Yeah, when you get, I mean, you can't, as much as you can thick skin it and ignore and try to push through, it still gets to you.
Yeah.
What you
Yeah.
see, what you'll see the strong person on the outside, excuse me, it still gets to us.
Well,
I
and how
promise
much
you, it does.
how much can you expect? I feel like politicians shouldn't have extremely long terms. That's part of what gets us into these problems that we're in now. Like freaking Mitch McConnell, can you go away now, please, for God's sake? But the point is just maybe lasting forever, your whole lifetime in a position or whatever, isn't something that's like maybe the Prime Minister of New Zealand did everything she set out to do and did it masterfully, and she can now move on to something else. And there's no
She's
shame.
tired. She said it. She said
Yeah.
she's tired.
Mother of young
She can't
children.
give it. She can't give it 100%. She doesn't want to do it.
Yeah.
So
I get it. I get it.
right. Anyone else have anything else to say? Or I've coffee fit?
I just want to go to sleep after that. We're
I'm gonna
tired.
go so another night of me not having dinner yet. So, all right, this is a great talk, and I hope everyone got something out of it. Who's watching and listening, and all of us. I'm sure all of us did. So, Nancy, thank you, Nancy,
Thank you,
for watching. Really appreciate
everyone.
it.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Susan. Appreciate you too.
Good night,
And everyone else
Susan.
is watching. Okay, here we go. Thank you, Sovereign. Thanks, Marla. Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, Ellen. And thank you. Thank you for joining us for the Vegan Stew. I don't know where we are at with the days of the week. Is there a Wednesday next week? I don't know. There isn't. Okay, so you'll see us in 2 weeks. We'll be back on February 8th at 7 p.m. with some topic. I don't know what it is. You'll see it posted. And thank you to Total Body Lab for sponsoring and supporting us for the month of January 2023. And if you like prizes, once again, go to Virtual Fit Trust Live, hit the contest tab, and enter to win one of 10 prize packs. Have a great night, everyone. Be kind.